Coulthard and Hakkinen can only really hope for a second row slot, I think, for a good performance today. That seems to be the case, as ever. We'll have to wait and find out. As Fernando Alonso, it's indeed wrong.
Alex Yoong, actually, the Malaysian, and he's overrun the chicane on his first attempt to qualify for a Grand Prix. This is his first time here, and oh dear, is this bad luck? Because he had problems this morning with the computer software of his car, which trashed the gearbox, and this is just about the worst thing this astonishingly calm and composed young Malaysian could have happened to him.
Without doubt, and that's a transmission problem again, so not too much oil and smoke around it. Could easily be the same kind of electrical gremlins, but he's lost drive. He pulled off into the escape road, not too far then back to the pits, but he'll need to be in the spare car, and as you said, Murray, exactly what he did not need for his first Grand Prix qualifying session.
Funnily enough, I had lunch with Paul Stoddart, his team boss, literally minutes before I came up into the commentary box, and I said, what was the problem this morning? It was the computer software, Paul said, but we've cracked it, we know what the problem is, we've put it right. Sadly, it looks as though they haven't, but at least, as you say, he can get back to the pits in virtually no time.
Tactical error really sending out the other team car, because and what is he doing?
He's done exactly the same thing. This is quite astounding. Fernando Alonso goes out. Now, I mean, there's no question of overrunning the chicane because he was going too quick, as a lot of people have been doing. It looks, and who knows, as he desperately tries to get going again, as though there is a major software problem which has been repeated.
It's curious. He still has the engine running. He still has some form of drive. This is a replay of the action, but we can hear his exhaust note down there still. Whether Alonso gets away now, he too is getting out of the car, we think. So very strange situation here from European Minardi, and it seems like they've had the same technical gremlin hit both cars just as they leave the pit lane.
Awful for Yoong. There are a lot of very important Malaysian people here to see their man hopefully qualify for his first Grand Prix, and the rules apply, of course. If Alonso and Yoong do not do a time within 107% of the fastest time of the day, they do not qualify. Yes, the team can appeal to the other team owners who might let them in, but it means that Yoong in particular has not done any really challenging high-speed laps at Monza.
Yes, and to finish why I say I thought it was a tactical error anyway to send the other car out, is for sure they were going to be a while clearing Yoong's car. You can still see it now being cleared. Alonso would have come around to wave yellow flags and would have to have slowed down on his first flying lap. But Louise is down in the pits as we've got to Minardi's line astern.
Yeah, standing in front of the Minardi garage. In fact, this is their absolute worst nightmare. It's a recurrence of the gearbox problems that they had this morning. Both drivers only completed 2 laps in the hour-and-a-half session this morning because they had a gearbox problem. They believed it to be the same gearbox problem on both cars, but the worrying thing was they weren't sure exactly what was causing it. Now, the team were hoping that they'd found a cure for this afternoon, but obviously those hopes have proved to be unfounded.
Means, of course, that there is only one Minardi left now for both of them in the garage.
Yeah, they're going to be kicking themselves. It's very much a bad timing, isn't it? They've had one car fail immediately with sounds like a similar problem. They should have just waited, held the other car back to see if they'd indeed fixed the problem. Now, as you say, Murray, they're faced with one car for 2 drivers, one of whom has never been involved in a Formula 1 qualifying session in his life. So a tough call for them this afternoon. Now, we did see at Spa with that strange wet-dry qualifying situation where 4 cars were allowed in the race when they didn't meet the 107% rule. All the team bosses agreed to let them back in the race, but we have seen earlier this season when Tasso Marquez failed to qualify at a Grand Prix where they wouldn't sanction that. If there's just one driver, sometimes they won't sanction it.
I would be very surprised, frankly, if they sanctioned Alex Yoong taking part in the Grand Prix, because common sense and caution would lead them perhaps to say, look, this young lad, impressive as he is, has not done any really quick laps here. He's not been in competition with other Formula 1 people, and we don't think this is right for him to start. we'll just have to wait and see.
Of course, the spare car will probably have the same hardware and software in it anyway. Will that stop when they get down to the first chicane, minus any apparent form of drive?
And you're confident that there shouldn't be any technical problems with the T-car?
Well, it's certainly not the same problem because it's the old spec gearbox, so we'll see.
Cheers, Paul.